Good afternoon, guys. Hopefully you guys can see me okay. Let me kind of move this over just a little bit so you can see me a little bit better. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I hope everybody has been having a wonderful afternoon thus far. It is kind of like smack in the day, so we will see how everything goes. I know that there will definitely be people watching on the replay, and that's perfectly okay with me, just as fine with me. So what we're going to do today, we are going to be talking about. Let me kind of move this. Give me 1 second, just a little bit, so you can see me a little bit better.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Good afternoon. All right. So, what we're going to be talking about today is transitioning from your full time job into your private practice. Now, the reason why I decided to do something like this is because it's a question that I get a lot from different people. And so, some people are looking to completely leave their full time gig and go right into private practice. And that's something that they want to do for on a full time basis. But I do know that there are going to be people, and there definitely are people that is not the case. They actually want to go and they want to keep their full-time job, but they're looking just to kind of maybe make some money on the side, or they just want to be able to start getting into private practice and kind of get a feel for it. Maybe they're looking for trying to identify who their ideal client is. Whatever the case is, some people are just in a different boat. So this information that we're going to talk about today is really going to be applicable to anyone that whether you are looking to do it on a part-time basis or a full-time basis. The bigger issue here is that people are just struggling with understanding how to do that transition. So that's what we're going to get into today. So the first thing, you're going to see me looking to the side because I have my notes here to the side. So first thing that we're going to be talking about today is make sure that you have a schedule for yourself. If you were a part of this week's masterclass, 3-day masterclass, you know that we touched on the concept of having a schedule and actually following by that schedule. And so when I talk about having a schedule, what we're really looking at is having a schedule that is specifically for the time that you're going to put in for developing your therapy practice. So this could be research that you're putting in. This could be maybe phone calls that you're making. Whatever the case is, you're actually going to be putting aside time to get that work done. Trust me, life will always get in the way. There's always going to be something that you have to do, someone that wants you to do something for them, or something, just things that may happen in your life. So if you don't have it on your calendar to do, then there's a large chance that it can continue to be pushed off. And these are things that I noticed that really causes people to procrastinate when it comes down to starting their therapy practice. So that's going to be the very most important thing that you're going to get started with. Is even today, think about a specific time frame that you can use just to do this work that we're going to be talking about today. Okay. So that could look like, are you going to do it on the weekends? Are you going to do it during the week? If you're going to, be making phone calls, can you do that during your lunch break? Whatever it is, come up with a specific schedule. So the second thing is that I want you to really, while you're working on that transition into your private practice, I want you to start thinking about what is the population of people that you want to work with. So we're talking about, do you want to work with children? Do you want to work only with adults? Do you want to do family therapy? Do you want to do workshops for maybe employment? Do you want to do career counseling? What is the specific type of work that you want to do, and what is that population of people that you can see yourself working with? I want you to really start thinking about that. If you are in private practice, or if you're getting into private practice, you've had a little bit of experience, or you've at least seen some things that you can kind of go off of and kind of decide, okay, yeah, this is something that I definitely like, or this is something that I don't like. So kind of look at the experience that you've had. Think about areas that people have come to you and said that you work well in that particular area. Think about those things as well, because that's going to really give you a general sense of who it is that you should be looking towards working with. And remember, even if you're identifying an ideal client right now, a year later, it could change. 2 years or 5 years or even 10 years, it can change. And guess what? It's okay. People do it all the time. So just like people change careers, maybe as counselors, we may not be changing careers, but sometimes we do change our focus in terms of who we're working with. Okay. All right. So next with that, I want you to develop a pitch. Develop a pitch for yourself. Now, as we're talking about that transitional part of going into your private practice, networking and marketing is going to be essential. A lot of people struggle with that transition because they feel like, oh, I'm not making enough money, or I don't know exactly what to do. A lot of this can actually happen just through that networking, so that the more people that you are in contact with, the likely that you will have those referrals coming in. So think about what it is that you're going to say. So if I am going to say that I am a trauma therapist, which I am, I do work with children and I also work with adolescents, but my ideal client is actually a female. And I can kind of even give a range of that age of that female. Someone that has dealt with relationship issues. The root of a lot of it has to do with trauma. And I utilize CBT in my therapeutic approach, along with other trauma systems therapy. Okay, so I want you guys to be thinking about those things that could really help you to be able to sound like you know what you're talking about. When you're speaking to people, you want to be able to show that you have an answer, you have a treatment, you have some strategies that they could use to help either themselves or people that they're in connection with. So that is something you want to definitely consider. Now, what I also want you to do, once you've identified that, I want you to also think about the 10 companies or agencies with whom you can actually connect with. Okay, you've already identified the population. Now I want you to think about the people that you can actually connect with. So is it maybe a doctor's office? Is it a hospital setting? Is it a yoga or Pilates studio? Is it a school? Is it a daycare? Is it like an employment center? Think about those different people that you're going to be working with. And then I want you to consider the agencies or organizations, people that tend to have relationships with your ideal client. You're not going to just think about them. I want you to write them down. I want you to write down the telephone number, the email address, their contact information. And then I want you to take it a step further and write it on your calendar. So when you write that calendar like that, do that schedule what we talked about a little bit earlier, you're going to take that extra step and put it on your calendar for when you're actually going to communicate with them, when you're going to actually reach out to them. And then remember, you already have your pitch. So that's going to help you to transition into the possible opportunities of you having a steady referral stream. Okay. Now, with that being said, think about the times that you're going to do this. Now, in terms of that transition, a lot of people are working 9-to-5 jobs. A lot of social service workers, whether they're counselors or they're social workers or they're case planners, case managers, these are all people that are typically in this field. And those are like the jobs that they tend to be in before getting into private practice. So even with those, as busy as it can get, most of you guys have at least a little bit of time where you can make a phone call or you could do some research online. That could be your lunch period. That could be the later part of the day, the afternoon, when you're actually, maybe some people have like the 30-minute or hour break during the daytime. And then in the afternoon, they may have a 15-minute break. You could do something during that time period. Maybe wake up, if you have a lot of things going on a weekend, maybe set like a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning to do this work. Okay. Make sure you have the time. Make this your priority. If you want your business to be profitable, you want it to be successful, you got to make it your priority. And so that's what I want you to do. And that's what I'm trying to help you to do. Okay. All right. Also, I want you to be thinking about your ideal schedule. So we talked about the schedule in terms of putting in the work to prepare for your private practice. But I also want you to be thinking about when would you possibly see your clients? So if you've already done the networking, the marketing, now all of a sudden you have clients coming in, the clients are calling you. When are you going to actually see them? So start thinking about that, because ultimately we want this plan to work. So we got to be prepared. You don't want someone to come to you. You actually want to do counseling services, but then you don't know when to even see the person, and then you're stuck saying, "Oh, I don't know. I have to get back to you." No, you want to be definitive. You want to know exactly when, what time, the location you're going to see them. Be prepared with that information, because you never know when you're going to get that call, or when you're going to start getting many calls for you to actually start doing therapy for people. Okay. I want you also to think about the environment that you're working in. Now, this is something that I did. The many jobs that I had before I finally went into private practice, what I did was I listened. I listened to the needs of the people that were around me. That could be clients, that could be co-workers, that could be supervisors. I observed. I observed the systems that were being used, the documentation, how they did their notes, how they communicated with the clients, communicated with other doctors, other providers. How did they write notes to the court system? How did they document medication? What kind of forms were they using? Whatever opportunity that you have right now in your full-time job, I want you to start thinking about, what is it that I work with right now that I can take away? What am I hearing that is a need for the people that I work with? Because most of the time when you're starting any business, the one way that you really know whether or not you're going to be successful is by the fact that you have identified a need that's out there. So what are the needs around you in the environments that you've been given? What kind of systems and procedures are they using? Jot those things down and actually write down, start to do some research on those things as well. Okay. All right. So the other part that I want you to know is that the transition period is never going to be easy. When you are transitioning from a full-time job into a private practice, most people are just like waiting for everything to be completely perfect. Oh, I'm going to wait until I finally have, 20 cases, and then I'll be able to leave my full-time job. You can do this, but try not to get burnt out before you actually do it. Because the reality is that you will probably not likely see so many clients that's going to pay you all of the bills that you want, especially if you're looking into going into full-time private practice. So you're going to have to really start to be strategic about how much you're charging, how many clients you're seeing, when they're seeing, and then start to kind of see clients coming in and referrals coming in, and then the money coming in. Because let's face it, a lot of us don't want to do it because we want that stability. We want to make sure that we are taken care of, that we can depend on this job. That's why we want to stay, right? So in order to make that complete transition into full-time private practice, this is for those people that want to go into full-time private practice, know that it's probably never going to feel like, okay, this is the perfect time. What you do is just know, and you can kind of track it, that you have a certain amount of clients coming in. You're communicating with the people from whom, or the organizations from whom you are getting referrals. So okay, I tend to be able to get, X amount of referrals. I've been having conversations with these people, and these people are asking me, oh, can you see more clients? When you start to hear those things and see those things, then that could definitely be a factor that it might be time to transition into that full-time private practice. But just know, like I said before, that it's probably never going to be perfect. Okay, you may not feel that perfect feeling. So let's just be real and be honest with that. Okay. All right. So the other thing that you could do in terms of preparing is get on insurance panels. So if you're interested in doing insurance, because there are some people that are on insurance and some people that are not. Myself, I take both, but I'm only on one insurance right now. So that's something that I've decided to do. So if you are looking to go into insurances, don't wait until you finally open up your practice to do it. Start doing it now. Why? Because it takes a while to get on some of these insurance panels. We tapped into that a little bit in the masterclass yesterday. There's different platforms that you can use where they use their tax ID, and in some ways they can actually get you on the insurance panels easier and earlier. But the tax information is not your information for your business, it's their information, and you're actually just basically contracted with that company that has the contract with the insurance company. So if that's something that you're open to, go ahead and start doing it now. Don't delay that process, because there's information that you have to receive, information that you have to give. Then they have to review your credentialing information. And sometimes it could take more than 30 days. And with a lot of these insurances, it's going to take more like 90 to like about 120 days. So just keep that in mind. And definitely, if that's your plan, do it now. Go ahead and start applying to these insurance companies. Okay. All right. So the other thing that I want you to do is get a website. Get a website. Yes, people still use websites. Start to get your name out there and make sure that your website is hitting all points when it comes down to analytics, when it comes to SEOs, so that you can actually get in the higher part of that Google listing. When people say, okay, do you want, or I'm looking for a therapist in, I don't know, someplace in Texas, you want to be able to come up, right? That would make more sense. So make sure you have a website and do the research to make sure that you're also connected with the different platforms. Like I'm giving an example, like Google, you can actually do that, okay? All right. So the next thing I want you to do is actually get a business card. So you have to have a business card. When this is really important, because when you have a business card, you're obviously able to just pass your information. The one thing I always think about is when I'm participating in different networking events, then a lot of times, you may be talking to one person and then, someone else wants to speak to you, but you're not able to speak to them at that moment. And then they end up leaving, or you end up having to leave. A business card will help you with that. Some people say, oh, I don't need a business card, but that's actually one of those reasons why you might want to have a business card, because you may not just have a lot of time to be able to talk to the person about the services that you're offering. But with a business card, you can kind of give them that information. They can always call you whenever it is that they need you and they're ready for your services. You can also get a professional email. Look into getting a professional email. So I'm not talking about like an email at gmail.com or yahoo.com. Get something that represents either your name, or if you already have your practice, the name of your practice, get something that has that information. It just makes you look more legit. People kind of consider it as more dependable and trustworthy. So that's just also a thought. Okay. And then also consider getting on telehealth programs in terms of that transitioning period. Because if you're working a 9-to-5 job, you're likely not really to have much time at any point to be able to to see the clients basically. So if you're working a 9-to-5, let's say you don't get home until 5:30. You can't start a session right at 5:30. You got to get prepared for the session. So maybe you get started at 6. Now, what time does your sessions end? If you are having to go to a different location, it may, like that transitional period might just be hard, especially if you're going from one location to another location to see a client, which that can happen if you're working with certain community agencies or organizations. So consider telehealth, because you can just, as soon as you get home, give yourself a little bit of break, and you can more so see those clients back to back, and you don't really have much of a transition. And then you also don't have to consider the time frame of actually leaving that location and then going home, right? So it just makes it a lot easier for you. So that is basically what I have for you today in terms of this transitioning from your 9-to-5 into your private practice. Again, this is information that you can use if you're trying to do full-time or a part-time private practice. It does not matter really, but definitely this is information that you should be using, especially if you have not started working on your practice yet, or you're just getting started, you just don't know how. So during this week, our 3-day masterclass, what we were able to do was to talk about a lot of these things, a lot of details that really some of which we talked about today with a little bit more information. But even more information is unpacked in my program. Okay. So I've been talking about this program called Private Practice Blueprint. I absolutely love the program because this is how it's set up. It is set up to hit up all those points where we talk about everything from your systems, your finances, getting organized, what type of documentation that you should be using, all of those things that you essentially need in order to not just have a therapy practice, but to run it successfully. The link is actually below in this video. I want you to check it out. Right now, we also are offering up until this Monday, the offer is still open for that discounted price. Our normal rate is basically about $300 more expensive. So if I were you, I would go ahead and take the opportunity now, jump on this opportunity. If you're ready to start a private practice, if you want that freedom in your life, if you need that extra time, your extra motivation, that support, you're ready to reignite those passions, I want you to join us. We have bonus courses as well. We have one where we're talking about just everything that you use, even from me using a webcam, my light, my microphone, all of those things. We have a video or a bonus course on that. There's actually more than one video. We have a bonus course on organization, how to organize your physical space in your office, as well as your digital space, especially if you're looking to do telehealth. Where are you putting this information? You don't want your information to be all over the place. We also have a bonus course where we are looking at taxes, also looking at the formation of your business. This is a lot of questions that people have in terms of how do I format my business? How do I register my business as well? You don't want to miss this opportunity. It is an awesome program that we have. The other part that I like about it is that we have group coaching, and that's like one of my most favorite parts of the program, is because we actually incorporate, while we're doing the live videos, while we also have our worksheets and our planning sessions, we also have group coaching sessions that are woven in between the courses. Okay. The long 8-week course is going to go pretty much during the summer. We're going to start August 10th, and 8 weeks from there, we'll be going every week for our classes. And then in some weeks, we'll actually also have a group coaching session throughout that period. Now, there's some of you that I know some of you who are ready to get started, but you're like, okay, I love the group coaching sessions. I love the information that you guys are providing in this program, but I still feel like I need that one-on-one. I got you. You can also get engaged into our individual coaching sessions, both separately as well as along with the group coaching sessions, which honestly I recommend, because as you're going through it, you may want to be able to unpack those specific areas and really identify specific things. And so I want you to be able to do that. All right. So I hope this meant a lot to you guys. Take this information, do what you need to get started. All right. So you guys take care. And I hope that there's no questions. Maybe I should check real quick just to make sure that there are no questions. Okay, so I don't see any questions right now. But if I do see any questions, definitely as you guys are watching the video, because I know people are watching at a different time, take some time to list your questions there about anything private practice. I want to be there to help you throughout this journey. And remember to live and work authentically. Take care.